All right, Lori, honey, it is so good to see you. And I am so excited to have you on the podcast today.
I'm so excited to be here. This is so fun. I love going on other people's podcasts. You get to be the host. This is great.
I get to be the host. I'm so excited. This is like a dream come true. And something I told you before is I have always wanted to have you on the show.
This is freaking amazing.
At your house.
I want to have you on my show. So this is great.
And one of the things that I have been deeply inspired by you over the years is your ability to do really hard things. But more so, I think the thing that has been the most inspiring is the way that you approach it, that you have found gratitude in the hard things, in the challenges. And can you speak into that perspective shift? Because I know that a lot of my ladies, we can all do hard things, but I don't know if we're always grateful about that. And how has that transformed the way that you live your life, your health, your business, just kind of the through line of how you operate?
You know, I think that I learned it early on because I'd always been into working out. And so in the first few years of working out, I found working out at a pretty young age because my family was overweight. And I ended up working out because my older sister worked out. And I literally went on my first diet at like 8 years old, and she was exercising. She was like 4 years older than me. And I started doing her workout videos with her. And I noticed at a young age that I actually felt better when I was working out. And so somehow I correlated like, oh, I feel good when I'm moving, because my family we weren't really into moving. We really did not do much. So at a young age, I felt a lot of anxiety. I think I already started understanding like what depression was because it was talked about in my family. So I started to work out pretty young. And also through my teenage years, I kind of started piecing together that the results of a workout weren't just how you looked, because I did start feeling better at a young age. So as I started to understand more about working out, reading about it, and really, really diving into it and learning about it, what I learned is the amount of time that it takes to see resulse.
Yeah, you got to earn it.
It is. I mean, it's literally why my podcast is called Earn Your Happy. It's like, there are so many people who believe that we should just be happy. And if there's something wrong with us, if we're not happy, or there's something wrong with us, if we're overweight, and it's always the result of something. There's something missing in there, or that you could be doing, or a way that you could be thinking. So for me, early on, it was like, okay, I have this understanding that you have to go and do this challenging thing in order to get the result, or in order to get stronger, or in order to feel better, instead of just waking up and going, what's wrong with me? Why don't I feel good? Why am I not happy? Why am I not where I want to be at? It was like, well, maybe I should move. Maybe I should eat better. Maybe I should do something challenging, because I always seem to grow from that. But really, that message came pretty early on of, oh, good things take time and good things are challenging. Like, you're probably not going to see that result for a long period of time. So that's really where it was like, okay, how does doing this hard, challenging thing equal a really good result? And I think that was the very first time I started to even understand just the very little bit of that beginning of the message.
That is profound. I love that. And I love that you were moving and you were working out kind of at an early age. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think there's something about that discipline. And I always say, a lot of women, particularly in midlife that I take care of, are working out for the first time, or maybe really training for the first time. And there's this myth that they're going to get bulky. This pervasive myth that we can't seem to shake for the life of us. And I'm like, do you know how hard it is to put on muscle? How hard it is to like sculpt anything, not get bulky. And
I promise you're not going to get bulky. I think like we relate it to maybe when we saw like those bodybuilder magazines. I'm like, oh, honey, she was on a whole lot of stuff that you are not on in order
to make that happen. And she is in the gym like it's her job.
Yes, like going crazy. Like it is, like you said, it is so challenging to put on muscle. I used to be a trainer for years, and they'd always say, I'm so afraid of getting bulky. I'm like, I am trying to get bulky and I literally cannot put anything on. So you're going to be just fine.
I love that. And one of the things that I have found when I've talked to women over the years is that they feel like they've hit a wall, or they're questioning themselves constantly, especially in midlife, whether it's a career path or sacrificing themselves for the sake of their families. Can you share one of the hardest moments you faced and how you pushed through it when quitting would have been easier? Where like you thought, ooh, you know what? Maybe I could just bow out of this Instead, you push through.
I have so many moments like that. I'll share the first one that really comes to mind when I was in my mid 20s, probably mid to late 20s. And I really wanted to be on fitness magazine covers. It was like a young childhood dream. And the reason of that dream was I had an overweight family and I didn't feel confident. I got made fun of a lot in school. I was also in a more restrictive religion, so couldn't celebrate holidays or birthdays. So it really, with being overweight with that, I think I had gotten bullied a lot, and so did my older sister. And so that is when working out really started to be something that I thought was the way out. I thought that if you look like that, you must not get bullied. If you look strong, if you look fit, like people must like you must have friends, you must be popular. And that was the thought in my head. And so I started carrying around I started begging my mom at about 13 years old for fitness magazines, like when we go to the grocery store or whatever we do. And those women on the cover were like the epitome of what I thought was going to be a good life. Like if I could get to that spot. And so I would carry those around until they were dog-eared because I would learn about nutrition and health. And one of the things that I learned was like, wait, they don't have the same habits as me. So I must be able to change this. It must not be genetics like I'm told. And so those women in the fitness magazines on the covers kind of became that was like my North Star. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to get on the cover of a magazine. And so in my early 20s, I started to get into fitness quite a bit. And I decided that I want to do fitness competitions because I heard that was the only way you could get on fitness magazine covers. And my whole, for that entire decade during my 20s, I did tons of different competitions and I wasn't winning. I was kind of placing top 5 here and there, but I wasn't ever winning, which I was like, okay, I want to get on these magazine covers. And years are going by. And I have this vision board up for, 3 years in a row with all these different magazine covers on this vision board. And I remember standing in front of that vision board and being like, I don't think this dream is ever going to happen. And this was after doing 4 competitions a year. This was after putting myself out there. This is after pitching to all these different magazines. And some of the girls that I was coming up with who were on stage with me, who were, side by side with me, they were all winning. They were getting on the covers. And I was like, maybe this isn't going to be for me. Maybe I'm never going to be taken seriously in this industry. Maybe I need to quit on this dream. And it was like a lifelong dream. It was my way out. It was like that point where I want you to think of a time in your career where you're like, if I just get this thing, I'll feel validated. Maybe then I can start my life. Maybe if I get this magazine, people start taking me seriously. Maybe then I can start my gym. Maybe then I can start having that community of women that I want to talk to. All the things, right? Maybe then once I get this cover. And I remember after all the years and not placing, staring at this vision board and just having this moment of, I don't think this is going to happen for me. Maybe I need to let go of this dream because it was intense and it was starting to really weigh on my marriage as well because it's a lot of money to compete and do these things without any payoff. And so I did what, any normal person would do. And I looked at the bed next to me and there's the vision board. And I threw myself on the bed and literally just started bawling my eyes out, having a temper tantrum by myself and beating on the bed oh my God, I think this dream is over. I need to let go of it. And in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, why do I want this so bad? What is it that I think that this magazine cover is going to bring? And I dug into that for a while. I was like, what do I really think this is going to do for me? And what do I want out of it? I was like, I'm lonely. I want a community. I know I'm a good teacher and I want to be teaching and I'm not because I'm waiting for someone to tell me I'm good enough before I start doing the thing that I want. And so I had this total epiphany of I am waiting for someone to anoint me good enough to be able to start a community, help women and help them transform their lives. And in that moment of almost letting go of that vision of going, I'm not going to wait to be picked. I'm going to stop being a pick me person and, trying to be good enough for everyone else. And I'm just going to go and cut out the middleman and start all the things that I've dreamt of, even if they're tiny. And that next year, what I did was I kept competing because I was like, you know what? I'm going to just take the pressure off this and do it for fun.
And did you give yourself a timeline? You said, I'm going to give myself another 2 years. It was like a yes and. I'm going to give myself.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. It
Yeah.
was a year to 2 years. I'm going to keep going with this as long as it's like still fun for me. But I'm going to really focus on building what I want and giving myself purpose, because I was waiting to be picked to live my purpose. And I didn't realize that. And so I started putting on these little community events. I started getting women together at my gym. I started doing cooking classes that people could attend at my house. Like, no joke, like inviting 2 women over and like live cooked in front of them. Like, what was I even doing? I don't even know. And that year literally changed my life. I built an amazing community. It was small at the time, but then, year 1, you're building, year 2, it started to get bigger. And what ended up happening is the magazine started to pay attention to me because now I had a community to offer. Now I had a YouTube channel because I was just showing up without waiting to be, on the cover of anything. And I went on after building that community, and now I had things to offer this magazine, which is a business. Like, hey, I have this community. I'd love to share the magazine with them. How can I help you? I went on to do 11 magazine covers not long after that and ended up winning those fitness competitions, like actually doing 3 world championship titles in 2 years, because I let go of thinking that I needed to be something for someone else and waiting to be anointed, nominated, validated, and just really focused on how can I help even one person.
I love that. I love that, like when you got into what the realness of that dream was, and then finally stepping into it, what did it feel like to finally give yourself permission?
I remember feeling free, like even in that moment of decision of, after the temper tantrum, like the moment of decision of going, why am I waiting to do the thing that I want? And I think of all the women listening on what we're waiting for. And I think of the women who are waiting for their husband's support. I think of all the women who are waiting for their kids' support. I think of the women who are waiting for more funds to come in to start maybe helping someone transform or teach something or take that class or whatever it looks like. And I think we think the big things start big, but the big things start really, really small. They start micro. It starts with, I want to help people. I want to have this coaching business. Well, who's one person you could help right now for free? And what does that look like? And how can you start, getting the feeling of what that would look like to help people? And I think we overwhelm ourselves with the big picture of what it's going to look like, when really it should be like trying things, testing things out, seeing how you feel, seeing what you can do literally right now in your life instead of waiting for anything.
I love it. The one thing, and you're right, it's micro moments that build over time. And I love that you just had that courage, that bravery to step into that. And I would love to actually dive into a little bit about some of the greatest strategies, which I think you kind of answered that for a second, but to boldly pursue your dreams, face your fears, challenge that inner negative, like that inner talk, and really develop the confidence to live a passionate life, to live a worthwhile life. I know that one of the things that you had mentioned is like, just start small. But is there anything else that you feel like if you were to do anything over again, how would you start? What would be the kind of the frame of mind to jump in?
Okay. So in life, you actually have to create the moments that bring you fear in small ways. So I'll use an example. I knew that as I started to get into fitness, I was really like, at the time it was like Jillian Michaels and Biggest Loser, it was like that was the only version of celebrity for fitness people back then. And I was like, I really want to help on a huge scale, except those women all seem to use their voice and speak. And I am so anxious and I get massive panic attacks whenever any attention is on me. Like if I have to publicly speak in front of people, or even when I was at work and would have to like speak in front of my peers, like maybe I had a leadership position for that day or I had to lead a meeting or something like that, I would go into pure panic. Like I couldn't breathe. I felt dizzy. I felt like I was going to black out. A lot of that will go into maybe another podcast or this one, but a lot of just when attention was on me, I associated it to being something negative. So I knew I wanted to speak, but I had this major issue, right? Cannot speak when I'm in front of people. And so one of the things that I started doing was creating scenarios that made me nervous and starting to face them. So I'll use an example. So I knew that even just speaking in front of 4 people would make me nervous, But what I would do is I would invite like 3-4 girls over that I wanted to get to know for dinner. And I was like, hey, I would love to have you guys over for dinner. I want to, what I'll do is I'm going to have, or what this is going to be for is networking. And I'm going to share, some questions and the reason that I get you all together. And then we're just going to do conversation. And so the thought in my head is, I know it's going to trigger me just standing up in front of these 3 women I don't know to say, hey, thank you guys so much for coming over. I would love for us to, I'll ask each other these 3 questions and we'll just go around and answer and, kind of see how we can all help each other and go from there. I knew that was going to make me spiral. So with that, I always put in like some padding for if you're feeling really nervous. So for example, I told them, hey, this actually makes me so nervous. So thank you so much for being patient with me. Like, this is a great way for me to overcome this fear, is to do something like this. And I would also love to have you guys over, or whatever that looks like. But I always say to state the elephant in the room to those people, like, let them know what your fears are. And then it's like, you've already said what you're afraid of. If you have a panic attack, they already know, like, oh, this triggers her. She's fine. So there's something about that just kind of lets it wash over you. So that's the first thing that I would tell people, is that you have to recreate the fear and let the people know, what you're working through. People love to help people. Like at that dinner, it was like, this is awesome. Yeah, that would actually make me nervous too. And that's the feedback I got. And I was like, really? Like, you think you're alone in these things? So I started creating these little situations where I would be nervous, but I'd tell them, and I would, once it was done, I was like, oh, that was fine. I survived it. Yes, I felt the nerves. I did it anyway, and I got through it. What we need is these points of getting through the experience and proving to yourself that you did it. And that's what builds confidence. Confidence doesn't come from just being able to do something. It's getting through it in the face of fear. That is how you build a confident person. So it doesn't mean there's not going to be fear. In fact, confidence can't happen if you're not afraid. That's like saying, oh my gosh, I had so much confidence. I made a grilled cheese sandwich today. You weren't afraid to make the sandwich, so there's no way to be confident, right? Like, confidence is to do the thing in the face of fear. And so I continued to go on and create these moments over and over and over, so that I had those reference points for life of going, I still did it. I still did it. I still did it, even though I was afraid, and I made it through. And I'll tell you, as they got bigger and bigger, it doesn't make the feeling go away. Like, I still very much get a completely visceral, full body, am I going to pass out when I go on a really big stage? And I, even on stage, there's things I do now at this point. Now, to look at it on like a much bigger scale and way down the road, it's like I'll be talking in front of 10,000 people, and sometimes I'll get on a stage and I have I'm armed with my things that I'm going to say, or pending how I feel up there, meaning once in a while I'll get on stage and, sometimes you go out there and you're clapping, your heart rate's up, and you're like, your first minute, you're just freaking out because you're already, jumping across the stage, which is not a good plan. If you do have anxiety, please don't go out there and jump, because you'll get yourself
you're just going to heighten yourself up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
nothing like revving up some cortisol
oh
already.
my God, it's crazy. I've done it before and I was like, that was a horrible idea. I've even said things like, you can make jokes about how public speaking is, everyone's worst fear, and it's yours. And like, could we all just take a breath together so I can get mine up here? Like, I'll say things like that all of the time, so they know, oh, she's spoken a lot, but she's still nervous, and that's okay. Or sometimes I'll say, we're going to do 3 quick breaths together. It's really just so I can get mine. Thank you so much.
I love that.
I have them meet their neighbors. Like, if I really need that time, because sometimes I do. I'm like, wow, I'm not feeling grounded. I feel really crazy up here. And I'll be like, hey, I'll be ready with all of these extra things in my back pocket. Like, okay, ask this question to your neighbor, meet for 2 minutes. Like, I do that all the time because I still get nervous. And I think the thing that people don't realize is I just gave you a list of 5 things that I do to support myself. And people think that it all goes away. No, people who are doing it just learn how to support themselves better. We just learn the tricks and the tools in order to be able to get through it.
So a couple of takeaways. One, I learned a couple things there because I still get nervous on stage, and my strategy is to have that first line memorized. And if I can get through that first sentence or 2, I'm good. But sometimes I've wanted a pause, a moment where I just can recalibrate, and I have never given myself permission to do that, And so I love that. But 2 things I wanted to just take away. One is confidence is built on moving through that fear, like having the fear and doing it anyway, but stepping yourself into the smaller, into the bigger. And then the other thing is having support strategies to just back you up that work for you. Yeah. And just kind of figuring those out. But I feel like you probably figured them out, Lori, over time as you've taken those steps.
Over so much time, over learning from other people, over asking questions. Like truly, I asked so many people because it felt like such an Achilles heel that I didn't believe I could become the woman that I wanted to be, because that's how crippling, like I'm actually tapping into the emotion right now. That's how crippling the anxiety felt. And so many people listening think I can't do it because of this. You're going to need to do it because of that. Like that is the woman that you're going to need to talk to, is the exact woman right now that you are sitting with yourself, that you're having a major face-off with, a major meltdown with, who you feel like you have an inner temper tantrum, like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Because you're going to talk to that woman and you're going to get her through to the other side. But you're only going to get her there if you figure out your tools on how to do it. And I could never sit here and, have you get a takeaway, have your listeners get a takeaway if I was like, you know what? I'm just kind of lucky. I'm like super amazingly natural at all of these things. Like nobody would listen to this podcast.
Right. No, I hear you. No, I was even thinking about putting the elephant in the room earlier when I got here. I wanted you to know that this is the first time that I have hosted someone on the show in real life, on real life camera. It's always been on. So I always have my Google Docs are up. Totally. I've got my questions ready. I'm like well prepped. And although I was well prepped, I was going back and forth with my husband. I'm like, do I work off my phone? Do I work off paper? Like, what do you think is going to be more appropriate? Like, I want to make sure I get there plenty early so I can ask Lori once I get there, because I wanted to be so prepared. But there was a little bit of anxiousness as I was heading here to make sure that I, one, showed up for you, but also, I don't know, not that there's any right way to do any one thing, but like you have this vision.
I've so been there, and that's so funny. So right when you said that, I'm like, oh, good. Okay, I can help her with this. Like, I just use my phone. Don't even worry about it. Because I used to think before I did them in person, because, I did my podcast for years, not in person. And I remember the first time I did it in person, I'm like, do they think I memorize these questions? I was like, because I don't. Like,
right.
And, it can be really conversational, but I'm like, oh my God, they don't know that when I'm on, on my laptop, like I'm writing things down, I'm keeping track of things. Like being in person is a totally different game. So I love that you I guess kind of like outed yourself. And I'm like, great, let's support you, totally. Let's do it together. Like, let's make this easier.
Yeah. And it was so funny. I was such a full body yes when you invited me to come and do it here. But there was a part of me is like, okay, you're doing this for the first time. Like, let's go.
Good. This is like the best. This is good. This is like your best first experience.
Oh, I was like, there's no better place or person to do it with than you.
Makes me so happy. Good.
But I wanted to just share that. I think we talked a little bit about mindset, but one of the things that comes up for a lot of women, I'm just going to put my paper down for a second, is the guilt factor. The guilt factor maybe for a partner, the guilt factor for family, the guilt factor for, not pursuing what your deepest desires are because you're afraid it's going to mess with your family dynamic or whatever you've got going on. I know probably a lot of women have come to you with that as well, if that's the thing that's holding them back, or maybe that's the thing that has them leaning out. Like, oh, maybe not until. Have there been a moment for you where you found yourself kind of making that decision? I know you talked about in that defining moment where you hadn't been getting on the covers and you kept deciding to go on those, competing, but it was having some strain. Were there any other times too where you felt like kind of guilt was getting in the way or something was getting in the way, but you were like, you know what, this is just in my head. Like
there's so many times, every single time I've tried something new, you're breaking a pattern of not only who you are, but who you are to other people and how you're showing up. Every time you make a life decision, it's impacting a ton of people. Whether it's, just even for example, if I decide I want to change a product, that might mean I have to let certain people go. Or every time I decide that I want to do something big, it means it's going to pull some time away from certain things or certain people. So nobody likes change. Nobody likes change. They like things how they are, even if they're not great. They're used to them that way. And, I'll give an example of one of the hardest times for Chris and I where we really felt like we were rocking the family dynamic potentially in a really bad way. And it was when we had gotten into network marketing and we were doing really well with it. And we both knew that we had a big call to want to grow our personal brand and do personal development stuff. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to be speaking on stages, and I really wanted to grow my career in a big way. And we were feeling a call to move to California. Now, I lived in Minnesota at the time, and my whole family was from the Midwest. And when you live in the Midwest and you're from there, you really don't leave, because that family unit, they want to see you. They want you to stay by them. And it feels so far away to move. It's why a lot of Midwesterners don't move. They're like, it's a core value to be near your family. It's a big deal. And so when we decided that we wanted to move to California, it was a really big deal. It was like, we heard from our parents, like, you have your values backwards. You're going to regret this. They didn't understand why. And we're like, the opportunities out there, we know we need to be out there to grow, to do all these different things. And when we got out here, like, it was a major thing within our family, because they really thought that we were leaving them behind and that we had our priorities backwards. And they had very select words with us about what they think we were doing to the family. And that really, really rocked Chris and I, because we felt like our good intentions of only wanting to grow in order to take care of family, in order to be able to help pay for certain things, we felt so misunderstood by what, we thought we were going to be able to do with our dreams and the way that we were being talked to. And almost like, if you do this, like, almost like an ultimatum. And so we pursued it anyway, knowing that we're gonna, of course we freaked out in the beginning, like Chris and I would have these like fights together. Like, what are they thinking? We were so upset. And we're like, okay, we're going to pursue it anyway. We're going to move, and we're going to have the best intentions. And we're just going to show them. Like, we'll show them with us going back home and making sure we visit. We'll show them with making sure they get quality time. We'll show them, like, it doesn't matter what they're thinking or how they're feeling. We're going to show them that our intentions are good with it. And I think that lesson for us, I'll tell you, eventually it turned out wonderful. They were so happy about it. Most of our family has now moved out west. And we have been able to do all the things that we dreamed of with our family. Like, we've really been able to take care of them. And if we wouldn't have done that, there were things like my dad had a stroke that wouldn't let him work. And now I take care of my family. And so I would have never done that if the opportunity for what happened out west hadn't taken place. And so you have to hold the bigger vision, no matter what the people who can't see your vision are feeling. And I think the important key to that, though, is to know that, try to take them along as much as you can. You don't want to be like, you don't get it. Like, screw you.
Get buy-in.
Yes, like, get as much buy-in as you can. But I think it's so vital that we pursue those things, because you don't see the big picture yet of why you're being called to it. But there's so many things you'll see later, whether it's that you get to help hundreds of people, heal themselves or change their life or whatever that looks like. Or maybe you get to help pay for an entire family or a family member who would have never been able to do it later on when they're sick. Like, there's so many reasons that we need to go for that thing and do it. And even if the only reason is just so you can show up better and you're not resenting the people in your life, and so that you can show to your children what's possible instead of telling them what's possible, you can actually show them.
I love that. I love that, and holding that vision. I have a good friend of mine who always says, hold the vision, not the circumstance.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And that just feels so on point, especially for any women listening to this, that, if you're being called to something bigger, step into it. And you think a lot of what you've given us in terms of guidance is just taking that first step. As small as it is, start to build what you feel you are driven towards, what you're feeling passionate. I just love that. One of the things I've also loved about you is I feel like you are so intentional with your health. And so for a lot of us, I think with so much out there, goodness knows I'm trying to always dispel the misinformation around being healthy. Health can feel overwhelming, and it can feel like another thing on the to-do list. Mm-hmm. And who doesn't have an endless to-do list? So how can someone make a simple foundational health habit without burning themselves out? And I always talk about with my women, it's about the win. How can we create the win so that we can kind of catapult off of that?
Start with the easiest thing. Like truly, I call these like domino habits. And so the quicker that you can tip a positive domino in the morning, the better you're going to be throughout the day. So don't make that positive domino a 45-minute HIIT workout at a location. Like
I may have done that today.
Yeah, which you're good. Yeah, you've been doing this for years, so you're good. But make the positive domino, I'm going to drink my lemon water before I drink my coffee. And I'm going to put the lemon out by my coffee pot with a bottle of water, with a glass, with a knife, with the lemon squeezer. Like, make it as simple as possible so that, again, you create that confidence in yourself because of that win. And so at the end of the day, our confidence is either high because we had realistic expectations. So let's say I just woke up today and I had 3 things that I was like, it'll be a good day if I accomplish these 3 things. And I make the 3 things pretty doable.
And do you come up with those in the morning, or like, because I think about how you were setting your future self up, or how you described that. And so I do exactly what you're talking about. In the evening before, I mean, the gym clothes are out.
Yes.
The alarm is set a certain time. The stuff in the kitchen is ready. The kitchen's also clean. I don't want to have to wake up and the kitchen be what it, and then feel distracted by that. And so are you setting yourself up to win the night before? And do you give yourself a little bit of clarity about like what's going to make an amazing day in the morning, or?
Yeah, because if we try to do it that day, you'll just get overwhelmed and you don't know what to choose.
It turns into control chaos.
Oh my gosh, totally. So yeah, for me, I'll have those things that if I can just accomplish those, I know it'll be a good day. And I try to plan that the night before or the week before, whatever works well for you. If it works great on a Sunday, awesome. If you need to do it on a Friday before the next week, because the weekend's going to be chaos, like you have to decide what that's going to look like and start small. Like start with 1. If you don't have one yet, start with 1. If you have one already, give yourself 2 more small ones. But at the end of the day, if you can tick off those things off that list, that builds confidence in yourself. You're a person who completes your list. Now, for a really long time, I was a big list person and the list was big. And so I was so not confident in myself because my list would have 35 things on it. Guess how many I'd get done? 3.
5, 3, yeah.
Totally. So I started like throwing out the list. I have an ongoing list that I'm like, okay, I need to make sure like for the month, this is what I look at. But my day-to-day list is really like, 5 things that I'm like, this is what I want to do tomorrow. Like, let's try to get these things done. Because otherwise you start to lose confidence in yourself because you've made the list too hard. You made the workout too hard. You made your health habits way too hard. You are starting with saying you want to take 7 supplements a day. You're going to get so sick of these things. You're not going to be able to do it because it's like overkill. I watch all of these, morning routines and I'm like, I'm exhausted just watching you cold plunge, take 7 supplements, do your red light mask. Like I'm so exhausted. So I think setting yourself up for success rather than failure is huge.
I think I agree with you 100%.
I think we're going back to simple. I really, really do. I think we're going to watch this cycle through over the next year and go back to like some very simple routines in life.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of not majoring in the minors. I feel like we're a lot in the minors right now, and it's about getting back to the simple kind of needle moving habits. And I love that, dialing it down to 1 or 3 things that you can confidently by the end of the day know that you've done and that help you feel alive. Like that's the other thing I always tell my ladies is do the thing that just really moves the needle for you. Yeah. Like not that you're supposed to do, but that really recharges you, really energizes you, really has you feeling like, man, that was a win for me.
Totally. Yeah. That's walking for me. Like honestly, I just love a walk. And if I listen to a podcast, go me.
Yes. Oh, walking's everything. Walking with a friend. I think it's the best thing you can do. It's like the best longevity hack that I know. The other thing that I think you talk about too is changing your environment as important as changing your habits. Can you share why environment matters so much and how someone can start creating a beautifully supportive environment for themselves?
Because I learned this growing up. I tried to change my nutrition in my household. And now this is, stay with me people, because some of you are struggling in your household right now. But I learned really quickly that your environment is stronger than your willpower. It will absolutely eventually break you down, no matter how strong you're trying to be. Because if you are putting yourself in a position where you're trying to eat better, but then at night, as soon as you start getting tired and your energy has gone down and you've only got 20% left on your battery, or for some of you, 1% left on your battery, guess what your body will literally take over and do? It will possess your body to go and grab those potato chips for energy or to relax or to veg out. And if your house is filled with sugar, you will eat it because it's in your environment. And you have to plan for the fact that you're not going to have willpower some parts of the day. Like it's going to be gone. You're going to be tapped out. So when you don't have willpower, what environment have you put yourself in? So that's why, like, if we want to think of it in a funny way, why do you think they create shows called Temptation Island and put, people who are saying that they're so committed? Well, yeah, you can be the most committed person in the world to your relationship and in your normal life of what you've created. But if you put someone in a scenario over and over every night that is meant to actually break you up, I don't care who you are, you could fall temptation to that because your environment is going to overcome your willpower every time if you're there long enough, because it's literally breaking you down. So when you're thinking of creating a habit, or let's just use that example again, when Chris and I always talk about like having a great long marriage, we want to be married 75 years or more. We never put ourselves in an environment that could ever break that down, right down to if we have friends who were like, they kind of talk to each other crappy. Like, I don't like that because it wears on me a little bit. Like, I start to think, oh, is that how people talk to each other? And so we won't be friends with people like that because we know that environment can slowly wear on you and say, oh, the second maybe she has a problem with her husband, maybe she's going to come to me and talk bad or whatever. And then maybe I'll kind of do it because I feel bad or I want to connect. And it's these little things that you don't realize are kind of wearing away at you, just like with health habits. It's if I want to change a habit, but I don't clean out my cabinets, like you're going to go back to your old habit because it's what you know, it's what you do. It's literally going to be your baseline of who you are and what you've always done. So you have to change your environment out in any little way that you can and continue to work on it. So, a lot of people maybe when they're starting to be healthy or want to work out, maybe their family doesn't work out yet. Okay, well, how do you change that? You can't get rid of your family, but what you can do is start, making that plan with a friend to go for a walk. Let's say I lived by you. Maybe you show up at my door, every Wednesday and Friday at 8 a.m. because I know that I want that to be in my environment and coming for me and something that I lock in. Or maybe I want to start going to classes and creating an environment that I get into that even though my daily environment at my house isn't super strong, I get to go to an environment that gives me a lot of energy, a lot of fuel that starts feeling like my environment, so that you're being supported in certain parts of your life.
I love that. And one of the through lines I really got from that is cultivating community. Mm-hmm. Like if it isn't in your own house, mind you, set your house up for the environment that you want.
As much as you possibly can.
Yeah, as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I have a little 4-year-old, and although he eats a lot of metabolically healthy foods, we have things like purely Elizabeth granola for him, things like that.
For sure.
That we do not get along. Really, granola and I.
I know the brand too, yes.
If I want my blood sugar to spike, that'll be the way to do it.
Totally.
But for the most part, almost everything in our household is just very much along the lines of like it's fueling our bodies. The question I always ask myself is this going to support my future brain? But you're right, willpower can only take you so far. Mm-hmm. I agree. But in that too, let's say you've got a lot of kids or you've got a partner who's not down. And they're still going to keep eating whatever they eat. I always say maybe have a designated cabinet for them.
Totally.
Yeah. But then create community. Mm-hmm. I was at the gym with a friend it was kind of it was a hit workout.
Good for you.
With one of my besties. And we were together yesterday and she's like, let's do the gym because I'm leaving town for Austin in a couple days. And I was like, absolutely. And so it's nice. It's nice when you have that level of accountability, but more so than anything, that level of support.
Totally.
So you can kind of create environment.
Totally.
Yeah.
You can absolutely create environment. And the more people, because people are your environment. Like when I actually give a talk on this a lot, and people are one of the main components of environment, and you become who you're around. And so the more, if you don't have a supportive family, the more that you are around those people, the more you're going to become like them, rather than maybe the habits of your family. So it's just really trying to get in those environments frequently. I know if I go to a workout class every day with people I get to talk to, it's like they strengthen my brain, so that I'm equipped to go back and kind of handle whatever maybe is in your normal life.
I love that. And I love that you give a talk on that. That is awesome. You're such a community creator and facilitator. So I love that. And I think that was actually one of my questions I want to ask is, I was at an event yesterday and it was really clear. I was talking to so many different women. It was such a sweet event. Oh, and so many women had been feeling so lonely. They've been feeling so isolated. And I think what I would love for you to speak into is why mentorship and community play such a big part, not only in your success, but in the success of any of us. And how can someone start finding the right people, especially their soul sisters? Like you said, that found family, especially if their family isn't as aligned in their values or what they're wanting to create.
We are meant to be in community, like every single day. And so life now is very isolating. And it's
like we haven't recovered from the pandemic
or
something.
It's so isolating. And, when I think about how we all used to function, back in villages, like when things worked as well, you needed someone for all of the different things in your life. You had to go to the butcher, you had to go buy bread, or maybe you needed to go to somebody who was doing, the cobbler for your shoes. Like you had to go and talk to all of these different people on a daily basis. And the village ran because everybody did a different job. Now we have all of that stuff taken care of. We don't really have to talk to anyone. We don't talk to our baristas who rock our world, and we should be. Like all of these things that we're not even communicating in the moments of like where there could be beautiful moments of connection. And so this is one of the things that I am becoming hyper sensitive to now in my life is that I am viewing, and trust me, this is like such a hard thing to do, but once you start doing it, it will change your level of happiness on a daily basis. It will change how connected you feel to the community. And that is every single person that I come in contact with, I try to acknowledge or have a conversation or say, okay, this is a person in front of me. Like, how can I say, how was your day? Or what's going on for you? Or anything exciting today? Do you have any plans for today? Like, these are all really easy questions you can ask anyone and everyone. They're not for that person. Yes, that's great. And I love it. But it's the most soul-filling thing that you'll ever do, connecting with another human. And of course, it's a beautiful thing for that person. And I want to acknowledge those people. But my God, it makes me feel so less lonely in my life. And so it's become this beautiful exchange where I feel like, wow, this fills me up so much. And you get to acknowledge someone who maybe hasn't felt acknowledged in their life or all day or for the week or whatever that looks like. So I think starting there is a really good spot because it can be really overwhelming to think about how do I make community? How do I make friends? Just start there for a while. Like give yourself 2 or 3 weeks of this is going to be my goal. Like how about I just acknowledge everybody that I come in contact with and try to start a conversation. It's hard. You'll actually get tired.
No, I, as a mom, especially the 4 years that I've been one, I have so much love and just extra grace for all the mamas out there, especially the young mom, like moms to young kids. And you should see me. I'm like the mom trying to make friends at the playground or wherever we're at the zoo. And I'll tell you what, some moms just kind of eye roll me and I'm like, okay, it's okay. Because I'm just like, we're in this. Yeah. We are in this together right now. I know that your child is going to have a tantrum at some point in the next hour. It's a guarantee. Yeah. And you're going to just be in it. And so I'm always trying to acknowledge moms, but I feel like so often they're just like, what is up with this woman? Like,
yeah. That's why it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Is because you get rejected.
Yeah, a lot.
And it sucks. Yeah. I tried this in New York once. Oh, it was awful. New Yorkers, give yourself some grace because like nobody was responding back to me. And I was like, well, F you guys. Like you get tired, I was like, this is so hard. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try again tomorrow. Like, yeah. So in different parts of the country, it is easier, but that's one way to start. Like I feel a lot more interaction and connection with my community, which is awesome. Community is vital for literally our health, like our longevity. They say that loneliness is going to be like the new smoking, like it's worse than smoking.
It's worse than smoking, yeah.
And it was one of the things that affected me most in my 20s and 30s. And I really had the mentality that I was better off alone because just, from different interactions growing up, I created a story in my head as protection of, okay, well, if people can hurt you, I just won't ever let people hurt me, which means never getting close to people. And so that is a whole story that really, really ended up hurting me all through my 20s and early 30s. It's why I wrote the book that I wrote. I wrote a book called A Tribe Called Bliss, which is about breaking through superficial connections and creating a community for yourself. Like, how do we get through all the small talk? How do we make friends when we're older? Because I really had zero friends, to be honest. Like, it was my husband and some of his friends. And because I had left that religion and I wasn't allowed to talk to, essentially the friends that I had left. And so I found myself in a really lonely, isolated position where I was also making people bad so that I could feel protected. I was like, well, I don't need them. Like, every time I'd meet someone, I'd be like, well, I don't really like this about them. Like, I started to make people bad just to protect myself. Like, I don't want to be with them, or I don't want to know them, or I didn't like that, or I don't like that about them, or I had this best friend checklist that I had in my head and didn't know. It was like, well, if I want to be friends with that girl, she needs to want to work out, but she also needs to like to have some wine sometimes. I would love it if she snowboarded, and she also has to do this. And nobody could get my checklist because I just had this mental checklist. Like, and as soon as someone disappointed me, they weren't going to be my friend. And I think that we don't give people enough grace, and we don't realize that you need multiple people in your life, and not one person can be everything for you. We need so many different people to fill so many different roles because we are multifaceted. Like, I'm not going to make your checklist. There's going to be many things I won't be able to make, but maybe there's some things that I write, but okay. I make one, right? Like, we walk, we podcast.
That's it. There's my non-negotiable.
Those are the things that you get to connect on. It's like, find the things that you really connect on and really focus on those. And so for making community, I think that I've come to a place where this might sound harsh, but if we're lonely, it's on us. If we're lonely, it's on us. And I want you to think back to when friends, when you made friends naturally, it didn't happen overnight. It's because you went to school with them for a year. It's because you were on the same team as them for a year. It's because you guys went through some hard stuff together. And that's how friends are made. And now as an adult, we're like, if there's not sparks flying on the first date with someone at a dinner, then we're like, are they really for me? And I recently just went on a dinner and I was like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, Lori, this stuff takes so much time. Like, if you want more friends, go back again, go do another thing. Like, if there's something you enjoyed, go back again, be curious. And so you have to keep going and creating that over and over again. Like, some of my best friends now are because we did something, maybe together. Maybe we created, one of them is because we created a program together and we were just thrown together all the time. And all of a sudden, because we were together so much, and because I had my dog die while I was doing this program with this person, so we went through something really hard, all of a sudden, guess what that person became? One of my best friends. Because we spent time together, we created together, we went through an experience together. She was able to be there for me, and then there were some other things where I was able to be there for her. These are things that make up a friendship. Friendships, whenever I've talked to mothers, they're like, the reason mothers feel so close to their babies before they even come out is because they've sacrificed for them. And so a lot of times we want to go into these friendships and think we're going to be besties when we haven't sacrificed anything for them yet. And they haven't sacrificed anything for us. And it's like, friendships require these things in order to be close to people. And we just want to swipe right or left or whatever the hell it is now. But like, we just
on friends.
Yeah. It's like, if that's hard, we're out. But that's hard is what makes it so good. And so if we want those relationships, it's work, but it is so much bigger of a payoff, not to mention longevity of life, purpose, meaning, because, you've talked a lot about, I know a lot of the women listening, and I know so many women that I get to talk to about finding themselves in a situation where maybe after kids or in their 40s or 50s or 60s, where we're like, what now? Like, what's next? Community is such a thing that keeps you out of that feeling, because you have community to, when you do feel that way, discuss it with and go, oh, you feel that way too? Oh, maybe we should do something about it. Like, do you want to do something together? What would make us feel more purpose? Where when you're isolated, you're just going to make it worse. You don't look for how to get better or, how to get out of it. You look for why it's bad, and you keep going down that spiral.
That's so good. And I hope everyone has taken something away from that. Yeah, especially as we get older, it's not like we're all just pressed together on a sports team or in college or in high school. It's just a very different landscape. It's a very different game. And we have to be intentional about cultivating that and realizing that different people are going to have a different role to play in our lives. I just love that. I love and sometimes we just have to be the person who extends the olive branch or be the person who goes out on the limb. Yes.
Because ain't nobody inviting me.
Yeah.
So it's very rare. I'm like, okay, got it. I'll do it.
I'll the one to invite. I know you just had Mel Robbins on your show, and I finished the Let Them Theory a couple months ago, and she has a whole chapter on this. And she's just like, you have to be the pursuer. And I have a chapter in my upcoming book as well, and I have a whole section on pursuing friends.
You have to.
You just have to. You got to be the one who's willing to do it. Be brave. Exactly.
Yep.
I had a friend today, the one I just finished working out, who had her event yesterday that I was just so excited to be a part of. And we are going to join forces for one of my book parties.
Oh, fun.
And she was like, oh my gosh, I can do this and I can do that. And I was just so taken aback because, you like even a dear friend, you still don't expect, right? Things like that level of step up, and I was just, so moved. And then I got a phone call from my husband who was like, you got to get home to your son. I was like, okay, I got to go. But it was just, it was such a sweet moment. And as I was listening to you talk about that, I thought gosh, I actively pursued her, and I'm so grateful that I did.
Mm-hmm. It just pays off in ways you can't even imagine in that support and feeling connected. And I think those are the moments that make you feel solid in life. Even just her showing up like that, you're like, wow, I have people who show up for me. That tells your brain that you're safe, even in an unsafe world. And I think that is the thing that makes people either feel good about life or not, is their community. And because if you have people that you're like, oh, I know she would have my back, and I know he would have my back, and I know they would have my back. When you don't feel that, you don't feel good about the world, and it feels scary and unsafe. And your community is what's going to make you feel good about everything.
I love that so much. My last questions is I cannot tell you how much I love Gloci.
That makes me so happy.
Yes, I love it. I'm so glad we got our Gloci water right here. And I just, I remember when you launched, and I was just so excited and so inspired, because I just felt like it was such a beautiful, brave thing. And then getting to be a part of that journey, letting us in on the journey. But I would love to know what was the inspiration behind creating Gloci? And what did you feel was kind of missing in the wellness space that you wanted to step into?
I love that you have this question because so much of what we talked about is the inspiration for Gloci. I really came from the health and wellness space. And as someone who was in the health and wellness space, let me tell you, I've tried everything. I still have the supplement cabinet from years of supplements that I've bought. Where
8 deep.
Oh my God, I just stand there and I'm like, I don't even know what these are for. So I had this thought, last year I was like, should I just go to my cabinet and take something different every day until these are gone? Because I was like, this feels like such a waste. Why did I do this to myself? And so I wanted something that I wanted to create something that if I only did that one thing for the day, I could feel good that I did the thing. I'd be like, oh, I did the one thing. I feel great about it. It got a bunch of things covered for me in the one thing. And I thought, why isn't there a lot of stuff like that? And at the time, I was like, what is the one thing that I've stayed consistent with in all my health habits? And the answer was hydration sticks and shakes. And so with hydration sticks, I looked down at my hydration stick one day and I was like, why am I, first of all, why was I able to keep these habits for the last 15 years? And truly, that has been my habit. 15 years. I've pretty much had a shake every day of my life and a hydration stick. And the answer was they're simple. They're simple and they're also helping me with multiple things. So the shake was easy, but it was also helping me get my food in. It was helping me stay fuller longer because I found a shake that I loved. Protein, which is so important. The hydration stick, because I'm a toddler with my water and I know I need water to feel good and be in a good mood and have nice skin.
I call it
and all
emotional
the things.
water.
It really
emotional
is.
Water. I'm just
It is, and we need it, and it's important, and you're a different person when you don't drink water throughout the day and things don't work right and you don't feel good. So to the hydration stick, I looked down at what I was taking and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally just drinking really expensive salt and sugar with some flavoring pretty much every day, maybe some electrolytes in there. And I was like, what if this did more for me? What if I could put more things in here that I felt really, really good about? And that's when it opened up this whole world of asking women, most people saying they took a hydration stick and we had never even thought of what's in it. When I asked them, do you even look at what's really in there? They're like, no.
I know.
We just know we should be taking it maybe.
Good.
And exactly. And so
makes my water taste better.
Yeah, it makes my water taste better was a huge answer. And they're always like, I think it's doing something good for me. And I was like, what if we really could do something really good for you? And it made you drink more water and it gave you benefits that women want. Like, what if it made your skin look better? What if it, helped you go to the bathroom normally? What if it helped you sleep? What if it helped all of these different things? And so that's really the mission that I went on. Is one of my girlfriends has a really large community and she let me put a survey into there just asking what women all wanted. And the top things that came back were the number one thing was from the hydration stick, what they would want, or if they could take this one thing, they want to feel lighter. So I had to figure out what that meant.
Yeah.
And it meant better digestion, less bloating, and being able to go to the bathroom. That was what that all meant. Like if we could have all of those things.
Yeah, nothing's worse than feeling bloated and feeling just
heavy,
sluggish. Yeah.
Makes you feel heavy through the day. Like you sit at your computer and you're like, you don't want to do anything because you feel bad in your body.
Oh, and you can see it.
Yeah.
It does so not often feel that inflammatory bloating weight. Like no one, it's not sexy.
No,
wants that.
It doesn't feel good.
No.
And so that I was like, okay, we want to help women feel lighter. And then the other one was skin. Like they wanted to feel like they were glowing, like they have good skin. That was a really big thing for women. And I was like, none of these people are talking about this. Like what with these hydration sticks, it's like very catered to men, like, extreme workouts. The packaging is very like, sciencey, extreme workout, extreme
CrossFit.
Athlete.
Yeah. Like sprinting up a mountain.
I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're not running like 20 miles per day and we're not doing these crazy workouts. I'm like, what about for the woman who's doing Pilates and going for a walk and like doing, normal lifts 3 times a week? Like what could we use that also kills all of, tips all these dominoes that I want to be tipping? And that's when we came up with Gloci.
Amazing. What is one of your favorite ingredients inside Gloci? I have a favorite ingredient.
I toggle between the probiotic and hyaluronic acid. But also our magnesium is really awesome. Okay, so
I'm such a big gut girl, and I think about helping to support, everyone's microbiome. And so it's the probiotic that I really love. And
it's getting so studied right now for skin. In fact, this is so cool. I just listened to a podcast today that said one of the biggest trends we'll start seeing is skincare related to gut because they're finding so much about it right now.
I'm not at all surprised.
And
it's an inside job. Skin is always an inside job.
Always, every time. And they're talking about how much topical products are not studied for it at all. And so they're now starting to study all the internal because we're trying to heal, topically an internal solution. And it's not remotely able to touch it because everything that we're trying to fix is starting from the inside. It's not anything that you can put on the outside. And I think of it in terms of, it's like saying I'm starving, but I put like the oatmeal on my stomach and I wonder why I'm not getting full.
Right. Absolutely. Well, again, good marketing, right, in terms of skincare and whatnot. But I always, it always was very intuitive that skin was an inside job. I think about skin longevity or, whether it's glowing, beautiful skin, it's an extension of cellular longevity. And so if we're not working on the cellular longevity, we're going to see it on our skin.
All the time. Like if you're stressed, if you're not eating well, when you go on vacation, you come back, you're like, oh, I broke out and look crazy.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I just need to eat right for a while. I need to drink water. I need to like do all the things. And
or if you have like a wellness vacation. And
wellness vacation.
I only do
then
wellness vacations.
I'm thinking back to when I was like 25 and we would go to Europe for 2 weeks. And I'm just like, what
just
happened to me? Like, yeah, it shows everything ends up showing on your skin.
I love it. Lori, honey, where can we get it? It is such a sexy product. I want all of my community to get their hands on this. I want them to swap out whatever the sodium and flavor hydration stick for something that's actually going to really move the needle in their health. Like you said, that one thing. So where can we get it?
Oh my gosh, you guys are going to love it. And I was neurotic about making it a really good, like really beautiful lemon flavor. You can go to getgloci.com, GETGLOCI.com, and you can use code Mariza, Mariza, and you'll get 15% off.
Yes. Okay, good. We're going to make sure it's everywhere in the show notes, but go and grab it. And then where else would you love us to find you?
I mean, podcasting is really huge for me, and you're going to come on the show as well. So I can't wait. So you guys earn your happy, and I can't wait for your interview too.
All right. Well, thank you so much, honey. It was such a pleasure to have you.
This was so much fun. Thank you for coming. And congratulations on your first
Thank you.
in-person on film podcast. We did it. I know. No. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.